Hey guys, this is Anthony Morganti. I am MrPhotographer.com. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how you could use Photoshop to take an image with a fast shutter speed and another image with a slow shutter speed, combine them together to get one blended image. We of course do a lot of combining and blending of images in Photoshop. You may remember a previous episode where I did an exposure blend. I had one photo that had a properly exposed room, but the windows were blown out. And then I had a second photo where the room was underexposed, but the windows were properly exposed. And we combined those images to have a single image with a properly exposed room and properly exposed windows. Well, what we're going to be doing today is very similar. Except in today's video, I'm going to give you a lot more tips on using Adobe Camera Raw to combine two images. What I have is this image here. I was just setting up my tripod. I really like the symmetry of this shot. And this young girl was walking along the water and she just came and sat down. And I really prefer the image with someone in it. So I was happy that she sat down and I took this photo. Well, she heard the click of the shutter. She didn't realize I was there. She wasn't paying attention. And she got up and she apologized to me. And I said, no, I kind of, liked that there was a person in the shot. And she kind of laughed and left. So then I put on a 10-stop ND filter and I took this shot. Now, she, of course, left, so she's no longer in the image. Now, I mentioned I prefer the shot with her in it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to combine these two shots. In this shot, I like the blurred clouds and I like the water slightly more smooth than the other image. But in the image here, I prefer actually the foreground and I prefer having the person in the shot. And the trees I prefer, they're frozen, whereas in the other image it was fairly breezy that day. So you could see the images here, or the trees here, are a little blurry. So I'd prefer the other image. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to take elements of one image and combine them with another. First of all, though, I'm going to do some Adobe Camera Raw processing. So really, as I look at the image, the exposure of the two, even though I used a 10-stop ND filter on one and hit totally different camera settings. And by the way, in the description below the video, I'll have a gear list and I'll have all my camera settings and exposure info for both of these shots. So if you're curious how I took them, you could check that out. Now, what we're going to do again is combine the two images, and we're going to start out in Adobe Camera Raw. And as I mentioned, the exposures, as you look at them, look okay. They're not like one isn't considerably darker than the other. The only thing that's different really considerably is the white balance. The one with the 10-stop filter is a little more warm than the other one. The filter did that. Even though it's an ND filter, supposed to be neutral density, it did affect the color a little bit. So we'll fix that as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to click on, over here on the left-hand side, we're in Adobe Camera Raw. I'm going to click on the first image, and I'm going to hold the Command key and click on the second image so they're both selected. If you have a PC, you'd hold the Control key in. Selecting them both means as I adjust, I'm actually going to be adjusting both the exact same way. So I'm looking at this image, and I'm just going to adjust. And what you'll notice then is when I adjust this image, I turned highlights down and shadows up. If I click on the second image, you'll see that the same exact adjustment was done to this image as well. So just keep them both selected, and then we could adjust them accordingly. And I'm going to just not do a lot, really. I'm going to do more adjusting after I combine the images. So I'm just going to kind of do some preliminary adjusting here. I am going to go to lens corrections. Oh, those are enabled. That's good. Make sure those are enabled. And I think that's it as far as the adjusting is concerned for now. But I do have to deal with this white balance issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to deselect the bottom image by holding in the Command key and clicking on it. So I'm just now doing an adjustment to this image. And what I'm going to do is get the white balance eyedropper tool. In Adobe Camera Raw, it's right here. And what I'm going to do is just go on one of these bricks that are in the foreground. So I'm just going to click on a brick, like right there, to get a white balance adjustment. Now I clicked on this brick. I'm going to go to this image now, and I'm going to click on that same brick. And you can see how it got the white balance closer than what it was before. It did cool it off a little bit, but they're at least closer now. So when I blend this sky and this water onto this image, it won't look like it's different. It will look at least close. So I'm really ready to rock and roll. So I'm done for now in Adobe Camera Raw. So I'm going to click on one, hold the Command key, click on the other, so they're both selected. We're going to click on Open Images. And what it's going to do is take both of these images and open them up into Photoshop. And it will just take a second. And there's one. And there's the other. So what we have now, they're open in their own tabs. And what I want to do is I want to keep the foreground and the trees of this image, but I want the sky and the water of this image. So I think it would be easier if this image was on top, and I'll explain that more thoroughly in a moment. So what I need to do is combine these or get these on one tab. So I'm in the Move tool right here, and then I'm just going to click on the image, hold in the left mouse button, drag that image up to the other tab, bring it over this image, hold the Shift key in, and it will drop it right on top. So there it is. Now you look on the right hand Layers tab, and you'll see that Layer 1, this is called, is on top. And if I turn that off, that layer is below. Now what we need to do is align them. Even though I used a tripod, you could see that they're off a little bit. So what we're going to do is select this top layer, hold the Command key in, and select the other layer. If you have a PC, hold the Control key in. And what we're going to do is go up to Edit and go to Auto Align Layers. And we're going to leave the auto, and we're going to leave these not checked. And we're going to click OK. So what it will do, it will take a second or two to align them, and you're going to see that they're now aligned. So there's the top image, and there's the bottom image. You can see how the bottom image has now some blank pixels going around the edge, but that's okay. Now, what we need to do is we want the sky from the bottom image and the water from the bottom image to come through to the top image. So what we're going to do is we're going to just select Layer 1, which is the top image. And we're going to go down and get a layer mask. We'll go down and click on Mask. And then what we're going to do is get a brush. We're going to hit the B key for brush. It is right here over in the tool well. We're going to make sure that we're painting in black. We have a white mask. Make sure first that you're clicked on the mask, not clicked on the image. Clicked on the mask. We're going to paint in black. Make sure black is the foreground color. If you don't have white and black here, hit the D key on your keyboard. It will give you the default colors of white and black. If black is not the foreground color, hit the X key on your keyboard to swap them. Now, as far as the brush itself is, I'm going to have 100% opacity, 100% flow, and I'm going to have it hard. I'm going to use a hard brush. And what we're going to do is we're going to zoom in a little bit. So I'm going to hit Command plus. Yeah, I think that's good right there. As a matter of fact, Command 0 will fit it to screen. Let's leave it at that. And then what we're going to do is get a big brush to begin with. Hit the right bracket key. And I'm just going to go across the sky. And you can see now I'm introducing the other sky. And because it's aligned, I could go right over the light poles. The light poles don't matter. Now, as I want to keep these trees in the shot because these trees are more sharp than the other trees that had the longer exposure. So what I'm going to do now is I am going to bring hardness down so I have a softer brush. And I'm going to get a smaller brush by hitting the left bracket key. Whoops, hit the wrong key. Hit the left bracket key. And we'll come in here and we'll better blend it in. So now I am going to get some blur of the very tips of the trees. There's really no avoiding that in this image. I could probably come in very carefully and try to better blend it, but for this demonstration, I don't think it's that big of a deal. So there we have the blended sky. Now if I want to like make this, you can see right here, if I want to make this a little better, then I would just paint in white. So I hit the X key on the keyboard to swap those. So I'm painting in white on the mask. And then I could get a smaller brush and I could maybe better come in here. Kind of improve this. So I could come in and do this wherever I think it's needed and just get the correct size brush to take care of the issue. You get the idea. So I could come through and do that as I need to, but I'm not going to worry about it too much right now. So what we are going to do though is we need to blend this water. We don't want the water from the top image. We want that water from the bottom image. So I'm going to again paint in black, hit the X key on the keyboard again to swap these. I'm going to get a larger brush and I'm going to start out with this hardness down to 18 like I had here because I'm going to use that back in here. So around the tree line there, I'm a little softer. Of course, we're bringing in those blank pixels from the bottom image, but that's okay. We'll crop in a moment. All right, come in here. Now I got to be careful around the young lady that's sitting there because she's not in the bottom picture. So if I went over her, I'd take her out. We don't want to do that, right? So we got to be careful around her. The benches didn't move, so we could paint right over the benches like we did the light poles. Now there is like a considerable tone difference here on the water. So what I do need to do is be careful around like the edge of the brick, because there was a tone difference on the brick as well. If you look at the brick, it's a little darker on the top image. So I want to make sure I just come in at the edge there and not go like on the brick and on the grass. I'm going to, like here, see how it darkened this area right here? So I want to be consistent. So what I'm going to do is come in as close as I can right now. Oops, made a mistake. I'll fix it in a minute. So we're going to zoom in a bit. We'll hit Command plus. I'm going to hold the space bar in so I could go from the brush to the hand tool temporarily and then drag over here to the left. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to get that hard brush again. And I'm going to get a smaller brush by hitting the left bracket key. We're going to come in here and I'm going to click once right here, right on the edge once. Go over here, hold the shift key in, click once again. I drew a straight line. Click up here, click once, hold the shift key and click once, drew a straight line, then kind of fix that. Then get a smaller brush. Come in here, take care of this little edge. Similarly, I'll come over here and take care of this edge. Then I'll click once, get a little bigger brush. Click once there, hold the shift key in, click once there, then come in and paint all this in. Down here, do that by hand. Now I'll come in and hold the shift key in, get a little bigger brush here. Hold the shift key in, click one, or just click once, not hold the shift key in. Then at this end, hold the shift key in and click once. There we go. And we come in here. I'm going to hold the space bar in to drag the image this way. Get a larger brush here. Come in here. You can see I made a lot of mistakes around here, so we're going to fix those. What I'm going to do is I'm going to swap colors, go to white by hitting the X key, and come in here and kind of make this look more proper. Bear with me, I know this is not very exciting. And then I'll hit the X key again, go back to painting in black, and we'll very carefully come in here. Took out a chunk of our phone there. Bigger of a brush to save some time. Go back to white by hitting the X key. Get a smaller brush by hitting the left bracket key. Come in here, take care of that. Come in there, top of the phone that I whacked out. It's pretty good. Hold the space bar and go this way. All right. Hit the X key, paint in black again. Get a larger brush. Hit the right bracket key. Click once right here. Hold the shift key in. And click once right there to draw that straight line. Hold the space bar in. Hit the right bracket key to make a larger brush. Make sure I got all this. We're going to check the mask in a moment. Hit the space bar in and go this way. I'm sorry, this is kind of boring and taking so long. I'll click once here. Go over here, hold the shift key in. Click a second time. Right? Come in here a little tighter by hitting the left bracket key. Right bracket key. Missed a whole big spot right there. Hold the space bar and go this way, and we're almost done. Come in here. Get a smaller brush. Click once there. Hold the shift key and click once there. Hold the shift key and click once there, and get a smaller, and paint that in a little better. Missed a big spot right there. I probably missed a ton of spots. So what I'm going to do is zoom out by hitting Command 0. It's Control 0 if you have a PC. I want to just show the mask. So I'm going to hit the Alt key, hold the Alt key in, and click on the mask. Now you can see all these little spots I missed in here. Like a ton, right? So we're going to hit the right bracket key. Now I could paint right here with in black and kind of fill in these spots. I know that this is water here. At least it should be, right? Come in here. Here. The edge here. Now, around, this is where it's getting a little more tricky around her head. So I'll hold the Alt key in. Alt if you have a PC, option if you have a Mac. Come in there. I'd say that that looks decent. So there is the image below it and the image above it now. What we have left. Now, I take all these out here. Those pixels aren't going to count anymore. Now, all right, I like it. Now I mentioned I want to do more kind of processing to the image. So what I could flatten the image at this point, but what I'm going to do instead is get a merge layer on top. And to do that, you hold in Shift, Alt, Control, E if you have a PC, or Shift, Option, Command, E if you have a Mac. And what you'll do is you'll merge these two layers and put that merge layer on top. Now with this merge layer on top, what I'm going to do is go to Filter and then Camera Raw Filter. So we're bringing that top merge layer into Camera Raw. Now what I want to do right away is I want to fix the perspective a little bit. This was shot at a wide angle, so the poles on the side are kind of tilted in and back a little bit. So what I'm going to do is go to this tool right here. transform tool, click on that. I'm going to go to the vertical slider and I'm going to pull it to the left. And when I do that, you can see it straightening out those poles, just like that. And that looks pretty good. So I'm done with that tool. I'm going to crop it when we get back into Photoshop, so we don't have to worry about that right now. But I think here what I want to do is just add some texture. I really do like the new texture slider. Add a little bit of clarity. And I'm going to add a vignette. Like that. And then we're going to click OK. And actually, you know, I made a mistake. I noticed something just now. It's kind of dark over here. So forgive me for this. I'm going to go back to the Camera Raw filter. And I'm going to get a brush. And with the brush, I am going to go open shadows a little bit and exposure a little bit. And I'm going to get a larger brush by hitting the right bracket key. And I have feathering all the way up. I'm going to turn flow all the way up. And I'm just going to come in here and kind of brighten this area up. Now, it kind of looks ridiculous right now. And then back in here is a little dark as well. So I'll come in here. Like that. Of course, I put the vignette on there, but I'm going to take exposure down now to make it look more natural. I think that looks a little better. So I'm done with the brush. And one other thing I guess I'll do while I'm here is I'm going to go to the HSL Adjustments tab, and I'm going to turn yellow saturation up a little bit, and go to Luminance tab and make the yellow a little brighter and the green a little darker. Kind of evens it out a little more back in there, but gives me more tonal depth at the same time. I'm going to go to the blues and make the blue a little darker. Now we'll click OK. Okay, so my little diversion. We're going to go to the crop tool. And I want to keep my width and height resolution. And I simply want to go to this bottom one, I think. Push it up. To get rid of those, let's go to the original ratio. That's what I want to keep. I'm sorry. Then we'll come up here and pull that in. Now I want this little like handle right in the middle. I want this perfectly symmetrical. We're going to move that to the right a little more. Make sure I'm getting rid of all those blank pixels. And that's pretty good right there. Good. Good. We'll hit the check mark. And that's it. That's really the image now blended together. Those two different images blended into one image. Very easy to do. In this video, I showed you a couple more tips with Adobe Camera Raw, how you could adjust two images at the same time, how you could match the white balance by clicking on the same part of the two different images with the white balance eyedropper. And that's it. That's everything I think you'll probably need to know on how to blend two different images together in Photoshop.